Welcome to Fixin Your Crown Boo podcast. Fixin Your Crown Boo is a podcast interview dope people in leadership who use the model of servant leadership and are driven by emotionally intelligent leadership, who are also passionate about lifting up others and empowering their success, because the reality is the pie is big enough for all of us. And if we work together, we can find a seat at the table for everyone today. Your host today, my name is JD Johnson. I am a coach, consultant, and career strategist turned entrepreneur. I am originally from Toronto, Canada, but I've been living and working in the Bay Area for the last 10 years. I have over 20 years of experience in a variety of industries, including manufacturing, telecommunications, customer experience, retail, CPG, and technology. And I've spent the last 8 years as a consultant with expertise in project and program management with a little dash of change management. In my consulting career, this is where I discovered my passion for leadership development and emotionally intelligent-driven leadership frameworks and styles. My dream? I want to change the organizational culture landscape by transforming the relationship between employers, managers, and employees by addressing how new and emerging managers or leaders are not prepared for the people side of leading teams. My guest is, I'm so excited about this, Annie Lyons. She is a former coworker with mine, and she is an operations leader, a change maker, a collaboration champion, and a lover of ambiguity. She has over a decade of transformation management. Annie Lyons is also a dynamic force in the industry. She has successfully led transformation products for leading health insurers, Fortune 500 retail organizations. Her unique ability to embrace ambiguity and drive exceptional results has catapulted both clients and colleagues to new heights. During her journey, Annie has had such a unique opportunity to go deep with the insurance industry while spending 6 years in management consulting. This really cool combination has given her a unique perspective of both what success looks like from the outside in and how success works from the inside out. When Annie is not looking for the next thing to make her uncomfortable, Annie enjoys seeking insights on trends shaping the retail and insurance industries. She's got a strong belief that these industries should be learning from each other. And she also likes to be mentoring the next generation of leaders. Annie is an avid believer in the growth mindset, and she is forever in pursuit of that next humbling moment. Annie's colleagues often say of her, Annie makes ambiguity look easy. I can say that for sure. Her secret, a relentless curiosity and a commitment to harnessing uncertainty to drive meaningful results. Welcome, Annie.
Thank you, JD. So excited to spend some time with you. Really looking forward to this chat.
Absolutely. Once Alex let me know that you might be available for this, I've been looking forward for this for months.
That's awesome. Let's do this.
All right. So diving into kind of like our first little bit, I like to just ask some interesting questions. And so, you mentioned on our little intake form that you have some accomplishments that make you proud. And some of these things are doing the hard things, the uncomfortable things, whether that's big or small, and something that you think you could never learn. And slowly, with the help of many smarter people, you learn things. So tell me a little bit more about this accomplishment of being able to do the hard things.
I think the hard things are always the things that we feel ill-equipped to do, right, JD? The things that I didn't go to school for that, or maybe I haven't done that before. And I feel like that was the space, maybe my whole career, that I was always pushed into. Whether that was being asked to lead a data project when I'm thinking I'm a humanities type of educated person. Why would you have me go into data? To leading kind of large-scale retail transformations after spending almost 18 years working in insurance. I really find the common theme in my life is the ask is for the thing that I've never done before. And I think that's the common thread of doing hard things that I like. Hard things are often hard because they're new to us and they're new to the people that we're leading through it. Very, very rarely do I think leaders get to lead in moments where they get to say, I've done this 100 times. Don't worry, follow behind me. And finding those opportunities to lead when you yourself are going through the unknown, whether that is big or small, are the places that I find myself, I get the most enjoyment out of. I stretch and grow the most as a leader. I can think of several examples in my professional career, definitely consulting, where I was asked to lead teams and lead clients through things where I had related experience, but not direct experience. And it was kind of mustering that collection of experiences and trusting in kind of your toolkit to get us through. And that's important as a leader. You really do need to not only strike a chord of being confident, but accountable for where you're going and that you'll own it and get through with them. So I would say what I'm most proud of are those projects where on paper you never would have put me in, and they put me in and we got through it and we made it happen and we did something hard together. We learned something new together and we allowed ourselves to learn in new ways.
I love that. I think a really key piece that you kind of honed in there is how do you lead people through things when you're not an expert, and how your mindset around growth and digging in is admirable and has helped people that I know personally. And I've heard the results of some of your projects, and I'm always like, yeah, Annie's amazing. Like, I don't know how she thinks of these things or how she does these things, but Annie can just push through even when she's feeling uncomfortable. So I think that's such a key leadership trait that you exemplify, and that's really cool.
Well, I don't know that it's always Annie, it's always the team. I think it's really trusting each other, going into it and saying, the only way we actually get through anything is to trust each other, and that we're probably going to need our collective skills to get through this. And I'm honored to be the tip of the spear in some of that, to push through those initial scary moments, but it's definitely a team effort. So
Yeah, I can totally see that. And I think that that piece of having the humility to know that your team is so key to that. And also, I think what you do is create psychological safety where people feel comfortable coming to you when they're not comfortable. And then you guys can be uncomfortable together, but figure out the way through.
you're so right. I was just speaking with a colleague and we're navigating something hard right now. Really, really, really hard. And we've had experience in this space. This is one of those rare moments where we're like, yeah, we have done this, but maybe the team hasn't. And so it's pausing long enough to say, oh, maybe we were actually running a little too fast and we need to stop and make sure that we've built that trust so that they know it's okay, we can get through this. So sometimes it's almost easier when none of you have done it, because you're just kind of all like, let's join hands and jump. But when some have and some haven't, it's important as a leader to recognize that moment as well and to pause and say, okay, how do I help people build that trust, get comfortable while still moving forward? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think there's something around, I mean, we've all heard it, fake it until you make it. And that can that can create an environment where you're like, well, I'm supposed to be faking it. So I look like I know what I'm doing. And then, but where does that faking stop? Where are you able to feel comfortable to say, okay, yo, I got a clue. What's going on here? And, having a leader who you can kind of just nudge in, maybe not in that way that I said it, but having a leader that you can kind of just be like, put your hand up and say, I'm really not certain. I'll try. I'm willing, but I'm not certain on what I should be doing. Can I get a little bit of guidance here? That is such a key part of, I think, servant leadership, where, you lay that foundation that you're leading from the front and not the behind.
Yeah, I love that, JD. And I love that kind of nudge. I love that honest, like, I'm in the deep end of the pool here. Can we have ourselves a little chat around what's going on? I think that phrase, fake it till you make it, I might not be the only one. I think we all have that love-hate relationship with it, right? But what I do love about it is, with everything for me in leadership and in life, there's not a moment of, I wouldn't use the word maybe fake it, but there is a moment of, I'm going to trust my instinct, or I need to take a brave step forward without having all the answers. And that, whether you call that faking it or just saying I'm using all of my intuition and history and gut feeling that this is the direction we need to go. And then that make it part to me has always been, I'm a huge proponent of fast iteration. So whatever you choose to make something fast so that you can quickly test it with the team, test it with what you're experimenting with, so that you don't go too long before you really test your capabilities. It's okay to to lead people into big, scary things, but you need to pretty quickly find something tangible for everyone to experience together. It doesn't need to be the big things, but even little things, working with a team, maybe it's, let's take all these ideas and just have a session where we make something tangible together and show ourselves we can do even something small. It's really, really critical.
Yeah, I think that brings me in mind of what I think consulting taught me, which was to throw something against the wall. Doesn't have to be perfect. The key is not that you're here, you think you have all the answers, or this is the way you want it to go, but to throw something out there for people to react with. Nothing is worse than an empty room with a blank piece of paper and nobody's saying anything.
Exactly. It's that ability to explore with purpose, the ability to get curious about whatever you're working through with your team or whatever you're there to solve for as a group, and to do that intentionally with something, not a blank piece of paper, but a something for everyone to react to. And that's also scary as a leader. I think it's really critical that as we challenge our teams to do that we're doing that by example. And I would even say in big forums, in big, scary places, that we are showing them, even ourselves, how we are throwing things out there to our senior executives and getting responses. And when responses aren't good, how we're reacting to those and quickly continuing to explore other options. I think that's really important to show them that we're not just asking that of them, but that's my general approach to everything in life, to be totally honest, is really seeing those moments not as personal feedback, but as just opportunities to grow and learn and be an example.
Yeah, I think that's really key. And you hit on a lot of principles of agility and adaptability, not being afraid to put your ideas out there and not being afraid to say, hey, yeah, this is the wrong idea. Let's go. Let's do that ideas better. I think those are some really key leadership things that I might say that maybe missing, because I think there's this balance of leaders feeling that, they have to be the calm in the storm. They have to be the confident one. They have to look like they know what they're doing to give people confidence. But I think there's that flip side of, you can know how to guide through a process. You may not know the exact process itself, and being able to innovate and ideate with people and giving them that confidence that we can figure it out. We just don't have all the answers yet. And that's okay. We don't necessarily need all the answers right away.
I really love that. I think this is a personal journey I'm on right now, even, is as a leader, how do I advocate for their questions and put words to their uncertainty, allow that to be spoken as a leader. I'm uncertain about something that you've asked me to do, or I'm uncertain about a direction you're asking us to move. How do we allow that space? But then also, how do we help them actually move through that? When you get that question for the fourth time or the fifth time, how do you help them decide, is this really the question or is there something else? I think that's very, very important, and something I'm constantly struggling with, because I am by nature very positive, and so I just assume I can cheer anyone through the situation. If only that were true. And sometimes there's just really a lot of anxiety about something you're leading a team through, and you've got to spend some time in it. And then, like I said, you have to kind of learn your filter about when it's time to move them forward, and to either find that root cause or, decide I need to have that conversation around, listen, this is where we're moving. We've talked through these things. We're going to need you to move to the next step. What's it going to take? I'm on that journey.
Yeah, it really resonates with me. I think you mentioned earlier about not always taking the feedback personally. And something that I've had to learn, and I will say I'm still learning, is when you hear repetition, A, and B, when you hear something that doesn't seem quite the same, that's actually a signal that maybe you could be always right. You can have all the right things, but that might be a signal that someone is perceiving it differently. Doesn't make you right, doesn't make them wrong, but somehow there's a disconnect in your perception. And that can be a signal to be like, maybe I need to step back and rethink, as you were saying, is it root cause? Is it, are we actually saying the same things, but we think we're saying the same things? And I think that's a really hard skill to learn in general, let alone as a leader of people.
100%. You said the word, which is perception. And as a leader, one of the first things you have to learn, at least in my opinion, is the ability to filter what you're getting back from your team. Is it perception? Is it a real thing that we need to be dealing with now? How you filter any and all of the inputs that you're getting from your team, from your own executive leaders, that is incredibly valuable lesson, and it takes a lifetime. I'm constantly honing my filter because I'm working with new people or solving a different type of problem. But I love that you called out that perception, JD, because even myself, I'm reflecting on a conversation I had last week, and I think I filtered that as fact. And now I'm thinking, actually, with some time and perspective, what I was hearing from that team member was maybe perception of a situation. And so now I can reapproach that in a better way with them versus like taking that as a fact.
Oh, that is so key, so crucial. And I think the one thing that I've learned a lot of things, but one key thing that I've learned, especially with leading people or influencing them, is even if that perception is quote unquote wrong, there is something to that perception. They are taking it in, and I love that use of filter. They're filtering in information, what they see, what they hear, what they think, and what they're perceiving back at you has value, whether or not they're missing context. There's a lot of value in trying to dig down into what is their perception saying versus is their perception right or wrong.
Precisely. Yeah, I think aren't words powerful? This kind of gets to that. As a leader, you have to learn how to name things, put names on them. Am I talking to you and getting your opinion today? Am I talking to you and getting your expertise today? Am I talking with you and getting your emotional perception of something you just walked out of? There's a lot of information that gets thrown at you, and 99% of it, you need to just sit with it for a minute, and you need to filter it, and you need to understand it. And a lot of what you get all day are opinions, and those, like you said, are their truths, and they're important, but you need to catalog it as that and understand it as that. And then that helps you in the response. And honestly, it helps your team too, because the way you filter it, you're not taking everything as personal or everything as an attack, but like, oh, wow, you just gave me a lot of your opinion. That's great. That's good to know. I love that opinion. And I, as a leader, might go see if everyone else on my team has the same opinion, in which case I better rethink it. Or is this the opinion of one? And so I think that's where those filters can become, they can make you curious. As a leader, you're constantly learning and exploring. And I think that filter, that pause and reflect, that naming it makes you curious. Okay, now I can get curious about the right thing. Is this an opinion I need to pursue and see if it lives elsewhere? Is this a perception where I need to understand and or do a better job of creating context? Is this expertise and I need to slow my roll and listen to some experts for a minute, which is often true in my case. I need to just pause and take in some more expertise. But I think that's a lesson I've continued to learn, is not just hearing information is all coming at me in the same way.
And I'm totally going to steal that idea of filter. How am I filtering how the information is coming to me? That is so powerful to me right there.
It's a lesson.
You mentioned exploration and curiosity. And so this kind of takes me to your quote, actually. You have a quote that's from T. Eliot's Four Quarters. And it is, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. So I would just kind of love to kind of dig into you with like, why do you love this? What does this mean to you? And like how you used it.
Yeah, right. It's quite a little mouthful. It's a quote I use constantly. I think it's just a really fancy way of saying it's about the journey and not the destination. Maybe
Mm.
you should not cease from exploration. You should always be learning and exploring and seeking new truths. Never want to be someone who believes they've arrived at all of the answers, even for some of the core ethos in my life. I look at our world right now, and as a leader, one of my best ways to lead is to show that I'm also learning, even when it's some of my core values, that I don't want to be a fixed point. I want to be someone who invites opposing points of view, and I want to hear them and learn and understand. And I think that is critical as a leader, to create space where that can be done safely. And so for me, just that first line, "we shall not cease from exploration," is what I want my brand to be as a leader. I want to be an explorer, and I want to bring and create spaces where others feel that safety. But I also recognize that oftentimes exploration just really helps us know ourselves better. It's really not about where we're going. It's really not about getting to a new place. It's about the fact that the more we learn, the more deeply we understand ourselves, the more deeply we understand how we work with others, the more deeply we understand how to solve problems. I mean, this, JD, in our experience with consulting, one of the biggest lessons you walk away with is, oh, everyone is in fact trying to solve the same problems. It's really, they're packaged a little differently, and sure, the kind of the specifics around it, but at the end of the day, there's just a lot of the same. And so I love this quote, because oftentimes that is the role of a leader, is to help a group maybe just kind of end up where they were, but they understand it more, they've owned it, they feel it. So this quote for me has just always been an anchor. There's that other saying I think I love about, when you unpack your suitcase, you're still unpacking yourself. You go on vacation, but you're still going to unpack who you are when you arrive. Like, you can't look at moving locations as changing everything. Really, the exploration comes from just going deeper.
Oh man, that really speaks to me. I'm currently doing I don't know if you've heard of the International Coaching Federation, and I'm trying to do their first level ACC coaching certification. It's a journey. But one thing that I think our teacher, that she said to me that resonates to me, is that when you're coaching others, and I think this fits with leading others, that you should be leading with curiosity, not leading with what's the next thing you're going to say, not leading with what's the outcome, where are they going with this, but leading with curiosity. And I will be the first to say that while I am always curious, that other piece of it is also really hard to do. And I think that sets to, like you were saying, your bias, your standards, your kind of ways, your mantras of living, that they're not set, but like they feel set. And so constantly leading with that curiosity, constantly exploring what others mean and what does that mean in relationship to you, is like such a key piece of being a leader. But I think it's hard to keep it fresh.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you nailed it. It's so hard. And for all of us professionally, I mean, we all are seeking kind of a next, right? Like, what is the next role I want? Or if I want to stay in this role, what's the next project I get handed or challenge I tackle? And what is that all in service of? What is the exploration we're on? What is it we're trying to learn about ourselves? What is it that we're trying to achieve? I think those are the things as a leader that are really critical to help a team define for themselves. There's that, when you have a team, what can I help you grow? How can I help you grow? What is it that you want to do next? And that's fine. And I think that's important. But I want to be asking is, what do you want to learn about yourself? Where is it that you want this journey to take you? Where is that destination? One of the things I like to ask as a leader is, what are the things you see yourself doing on your last day of work? When you retire, what is it that you see yourself doing on the day of your retirement? And it's okay to think big. Someone might say, I see myself leading a Fortune 500 company of some kind. That's amazing. Great. What's the path that's going to get us there? What's the exploration we need to do? And others might say, on the last day of work, I hope I'm sitting next to people I really enjoy doing hard things. Wonderful. Like that's the mantra that I want people to be thinking about is, where do you want to know where do you want to end your journey? What do we need to do to get you there?
I love that, because I feel that that is a piece that for me personally, in a lot of my role, I haven't had a lot of leaders who were able to, one, connect what you're doing to the mission, and then connect what your goals and your dreams are back to that mission. And how do we get what you want and what the company needs or is expecting of you? How do we get them to be this mutually beneficial, maybe parallel paths, right? Or maybe they need to cross. I'm not sure which works. I think it depends. But I think that is like what you're talking about, is asking those questions to dig into what I think it's change management, right? Pro side. What's in it for me as that employee? That as a leader, you need to be digging into that. Because when you can start connecting their wants, their needs, their goals to the mission, or at least how what they do or what they can be doing connects the mission and also can move them forward. That intersection, I feel like that's like really, I like to call it juicy. It's really magical when you manage to get those to cross. But I think there a lot of leaders struggle to whether they're actually like taught, how do we connect these two, and that these two need to be connecting, or whether they just don't have the time because their roles haven't given them that kind of time to actually dig into the people side of their role.
That's spot on, JD. I mean, I think we're taught to think so linearly about our careers and about our professional growth. And I think it's very easy for us to want to coach someone through a job family or that kind of thing. And so it's really giving ourselves permission to say, what's the exploration you want to go on? And when you're at the end of that exploration, what do you see yourself doing? What is the thing? And I love that conversation because also it puts accountability on that person to have had that thought. I don't want to honestly hear about what's the next thing you want to do. What's the next promotion you want? Oh, I want now to be a senior project manager. Or now I want to be I love that. And I guess I should say, I'll help you on that, but I'm more interested in your next, because I know that you probably have a next, and a next. And I want to get curious with you about what that path might look like. And maybe where you can even have a more fulfilling path is the zig and zag versus the linear stepping forward. Not true for everyone, certainly, but that's where I think as a leader, we can certainly help you to the next, but I'm desperate to know, JD, what's your next? What's the thing? And then let's get super curious about that. Like, who are the people that we know that have navigated that path, and who can we talk to, and how can we think that through, and what are the skill sets they probably relied on, and what are the experiences that you're missing, and we can figure out how to get those and all those things. So I don't know how we got to this conversation from that quote, but it's a quote about exploring. So maybe that's what we did. We went on a little journey and now we're back where we started.
There is a method to my madness.
There really is.
I think the key piece is about the quote is around exploring and being curious. And I think when you flip that to as a leader, being curious about your people and exploring what their needs are, what's in it for them. Yeah, sure, paycheck. But let's be real, for a lot of people, paychecks is great, but are they always meeting even what they need, right? You have to also feed I want to say, maybe it's mental, like that mental development, that growth mindset. you have to be able to feed that too. Not, the paycheck is a great component of that. But if you're not growing, I don't know about you, but that's where you get bored, right? And when you get bored, performance drops.
100%.
So I think that's where we were going with that. But it also takes me in mind with, you were talking about one of your biggest journeys, right? Was your journey through university. I feel like I had a very, maybe not the same, but I definitely had a 6-year journey through university. So that was going through some things. So I'm curious about, you talked a little bit about going to 5 different colleges.
I did. Yeah. I did many transfers. I was a transfer person. Yeah. I had not what I would have planned for my post high school education at all. I think, honestly, I was one of those kids who had a plan for a very long time. I was going to go to the Air Force Academy and become a pilot and become an astronaut, like the classic little kid story, until I was like middle school. And then I realized, well, that's silly. Like, I would need a senator for whatever reason. I'm sure there's something I need to unpack there. I realized that was like maybe not put all my eggs in that basket. And so leaving high school, I mean, what 18-year-old really knows? I just was lost. I honestly was. I really did not know what I wanted to pursue. Didn't have a lot of financial ways to do that. I was very lucky and blessed in that my mom worked for a university, so I did have options to go to some specific colleges at no cost, which was great. It's also, and I don't want to seem ungrateful because I was incredibly grateful, but it's one of those where then there's some decisions kind of made for you, then go to this university. So I did, and was just restless. And it was a wonderful university here in Salem. I actually went back there for a stint and picked up some more classes at one point. And then I transferred to Chicago because I just needed to get away, get into a big city. And that was an adventure. In the moment, it was really, really hard. I think 30 years later, I can reflect upon it as probably one of the best things I ever did in the messy and hard that it was. That spent a semester there, decided that wasn't right for me, came back West Coast, and then met my now partner, husband of 27 years, and was still just so restless that I think timing and life ended up running off to Washington State and being where he was and going to college up there. And then he moved us back down to Oregon, and so finished up back down here in Oregon. So really was all over the place. Part of me was my itchy feet, and part of it was, life circumstances. But it was a journey, and it forced me to be an atraditional student. I worked full time for many of those years because at some point it was like I wasn't able to take advantage of my mom's where she was working anymore because I got married. And I actually am really grateful for the whole experience. I think what I've learned is that I just needed to be in it. I'm one of those people who learns best by doing. I just I can read. I'm constantly reading and absorbing information, and want to know the best practice in the frameworks. But I'm also one of those people that was just really ready to get to the doing, like just kind of knew for me, that's what I needed. I'm really grateful now, decades later, for that journey. It really got me into the workforce at a very young age, into professional workforce at a very young age. It allowed me to challenge myself. I got a lot of different college experiences, so I really am grateful for a very rich, probably like you, we probably ended up graduating with 3,000 credits and just all sorts of craziness, but it was great and very, very, very grateful for it.
I think that speaks to, it's funny, I feel like in hindsight, we can say, we enjoyed the journey. And also in hindsight, for me, I'm like, I was young and dumb. I know what I was thinking back then, and I know I thought it made sense. But in hindsight, I'm like, that was just dumb.
I think that that's the age to do that also. Yes, I had much of that as well.
But I think it's cool because I think all the things that we've gone through in our very interesting, university journeys. Mine was the 6-year plan that I never planned for.
Right.
And switching from trying to learn 3 languages at the same time, once again, not my smartest, to history and then, ending up in a call center. All these journeys, I think every single piece of them taught me a lot of things along the way, including working at McDonald's. I learned a lot about having to be cool in front of customers, in person or not. And so I think that's really, really important and harkens back to enjoying the journey and just exploring. And sometimes that exploration takes you to places you weren't expecting. And afterwards, you might not have appreciated quite as much in the moment. But I think that's really, really important. And that's a piece of what creates our curiosity and kind of keep looking around and exploring, whether it be people or things.
Absolutely. And I think even at that young age, you learn to trust your gut. Like my gut told me I needed to turn my major into economics. Like I realized I'm like way more of a practical person than I had ever realized, and wanted to be working full time. And I just found the most fulfillment in that. And I don't think I would have gotten there had I not done that little jog. And I think that's honestly what's kind of started my approach to professional careers in general, is in pursuit of experiences, in pursuit of the little things that are going to add up to where I want to ultimately be and what I ultimately want to be doing on the day that I retire.
Yeah. I love that. Well, just thinking about your meandering university journey, your over 10 years in transformation, your over 25 years of experience, I'm just kind of curious, when you think about it all, what was one of the most defining moments of your career?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. There's so many. I mean, there's defining moments as a leader, like that first time that you have to deliver really critical feedback and it doesn't go well, and you maybe even ultimately have to exit someone. Like that's just seared into your memory forever. There's defining moments of big wins as a team. I think for me, one of the most defining moments of my career so far was actually probably at the organization I'm at now, in my first life there. I had an opportunity to lead a transformation effort that, again, never done it before, but gosh darn it, I think we can do it. So I'm happy to raise my hand. I have total faith in the organization and the people there, and still do. Like there never is a better group to get through it. But what makes me really proud about that is how many people ended up getting involved. It just was amazing. It was one of the most defining moments in my career because I realized, as someone who could lead one from, I was not in a formal leadership role, so that it was that wake up call where most leadership experiences I'm going to get in my life may not be because I'm carrying the title of a leader. So that was massive. The next wake up call was, wow, if you involve a lot of people with a lot of different skills and a lot of different perspectives, you can do some pretty incredible things, even in an organization that's done the same thing for a very, very long time. So that was a defining moment when I raised my hand to lead that transformation back in 2000, and I don't even know at this point, when I wasn't in a role to be a leader and when I had no idea if anyone was going to join it. Yeah.
Wow, I think that's really cool, is when you think back to your first, sounds like official leadership role before having the official title.
Exactly.
How that must have defined, some of the things that worked and didn't work, and whether you like leading people or not. I think that's really insightful.
And it's honestly what's kept moving me forward. It was that time when I want to help people do really hard things. Like that's just what I want to do. And it led me to consulting, and then it led me back to that same organization because they're still doing really hard things. And I just want to help in any way I can and help them make that happen. You know, JD, we did hard things. That's the fun stuff.
We certainly did as consultants. So I guess that kind of highlights why you lead. You lead to help people do the hard things. I love that.
Yeah, there you go. We arrived at my brand. Let's do the hard things.
But I think that's so critical. I mean, how many times in life, whether it's work or personal, where there's something hard looming, and who doesn't want a helping hand, but we don't always know how to ask, or can we ask, or feel empowered to ask. So I think having a leader who is, sign me up, I want to help you out, do this hard thing. I'm always happy to help do hard things. I think that's so incredibly powerful because it's hard to ask for that help. And so knowing someone is already put their hand up to help out, I think that can give a lot of confidence and comfort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also okay to be as a leader, say, I am 100% not in a space where I can do a hard thing. Like, I think we need to just be authentic to where we are at and the space we're in at that moment as a leader. And I think that that's okay. For me right now, I'm in the let's do very hard things phase. Maybe we should do this podcast in 10 years and I'll be like, JD, I've entered a new phase. It's called the don't give me the hard things anymore.
I mean, don't we all deserve a break?
Absolutely.
Hard things, hard for a reason. We may just at some point want to just lay down the burden and take a nap. I love naps.
Yep. Exactly.
No, I think this all kind of goes back to like some really key things around emotional intelligence and being a servant leader. We talked about being the tip of the spear and how leading from the front and not leading from behind. And I think also one of the other key things we chatted about that like really exemplify how you think about things is authenticity and curiosity. And I think those are such crucial pieces of being a good leader. So thank you, Annie, for being that person for people and organizations.
I'm learning. I'm a learning leader, that's for sure. And every day, today was certainly no exception. I'm grateful for the lessons so that I can continue to hone my craft as a leader. You know, whether you're a project manager or a change manager or a developer, we all have a craft we're honing. And I think at some point as a leader, you have to say, oh, I'm actually in a craft of leadership and I'm honing that craft. And that's a whole different skill set. And that's a long journey. And it's the scariest part about it is you have to hone that craft in front of an audience, in front of a team. And that was probably the biggest reason I didn't get into formal leadership sooner is I realized I have a lot to learn and I'm going to mess up a lot. And it's fine as an independent contributor because I don't have an audience, but I'm going to now go do that in front of a team. Like that just feels unpleasant. And I think I had to get over the fact that, nope, this is just part of that craft, is that you actually, the privilege and the responsibility of leading is that you learn to lead in front of others. Yuck.
You know, but I really like a lot of what you packaged up there. Like, being a leader is a privilege and an honor, right? Being allowed to lead people. But also, I don't know if you ever like, I don't know, done dancing or do dance classes. I'm always looking at my feet, right? But but I feel like the leader has to have their head up and be looking forward because they're looking for all the pitfalls. They can't be just looking at their feet. And I think that is like something that is so key is that you are leading in front of a room. You are leading in front of people. And I think it goes back to that idea of not being afraid of failure. I think there's a lot of studies about how people, A, learn better by failing fast, and B, that failing is something that we're socialized, I think, in North America. I won't speak to the world, but being Canadian and living in the US, so I have a little bit of that duality. I see that we're not taught to be okay with failing.
Yeah. Isn't that sad? Failure is such a baked in way to learn. It's such a gift. It's such a gift. And it's also just such a way to be like, and we're going to stop doing that because it's failing. It's not working. Like, well, I just am the biggest fan of failure and the biggest fan of, as a leader, what that can do in your toolkit when you show people that you fail and how you get back up and how you do it all. I think, and that's not easy, and I'm certainly not the best example of it, but I aspire to be. Yeah, I love that you see that distinction, JD. That's awesome.
Yeah, I won't lie. I don't love failure, but I, I'll be authentic. I don't love failing or failure, but I think the key is being able to get over that, right? If that makes sense. Like, doesn't mean it
100%.
has to be today, doesn't mean it has to be fast, but, hating that failure in the moment, but the most important piece is getting back up. And I think that piece is where the learning is, you can fall flat. You can,
Right.
it sucks when things, some people consider being laid off as a failure. And in some ways it feels like one, but it's more important not that that thing happened to you or you did that thing that failed. I feel like the really important learning for me was, okay, we're going to cry a little bit, shed our tears, nurse the boo boo, but we're going to get back up and try again or try differently if we feel that what we did was the cause of the failure. So how do we do that differently?
I love that. I love that. I mean, JD, I can remember more than one instance where I had a long, hard series of failures in a day, and I would show up to a meeting and you were just there being your bright self. And I'm like, all right, if JD can show up in this space, in this moment, and I know JD's, we were in the same line of work, probably having the same day that I'm having, I can change my perspective. I can get a new perspective on this. So I appreciate you. I don't know if you realize how many times you did that for me.
Thank you, Annie. I did
Yes.
not. But definitely the way that you frame things has always been eye opening. In some of our meetings, you just came up with this thing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna steal it.
So we
Yeah,
all do.
do it.
We just borrow from each other. That's how we get through it.
Absolutely. I am one of the biggest thieves of sayings, things, ways of doing things. I'm like,
Absolutely.
what? We can just meld that into the JD way.
I love
That's
it.
just coming over here.
I love it.
We'll put it into the JD ball, and it's gonna be part of how I move forward. So I learned so much from you, Annie, and it's so crazy, like how excited I am that we're getting to talk about these things.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm curious about, I feel like, what has been your biggest struggle as you were learning to lead, or maybe even now as you're a more seasoned leader? What would you say has been your biggest struggle?
There's so many. The list is so long. I'm sure my team would say, "Oh gosh, do you have 3 hours? We'll just lay those all out for you." I think, like you mentioned, I think it's a struggle to filter. I think that's been it continues to be my longest lesson as a leader is filtering all of the inputs you're getting. You're getting inputs from above you, below you, from the side, just filtering, sitting with it for a minute, and then knowing how to respond. That's, as a leader, you want to be so responsive, and sometimes the response is to do nothing and truly just listen and be with that information. So that, I would say, filter is the hardest lesson. And then I also think that balance of leading from the front or leading from the back or leading from the side. I think when you're doing hard things or new things, the call to action for a leader often is to lead from the front and be that first fail, be the first failure, please. But then also recognizing when your team is at a point where you need to step back
Mm-hmm.
and you need to let them do that. And that's the best moment. But I think we are working in a very busy world. And oftentimes we forget to pause and take stock that we've reached that moment. We just get in that momentum is going and we just keep solving it. We keep leading from the front. And so I think finding the balance of where to lead is the other lesson. So I would say filtering and the dance of moving to the front, moving to the back is a very Very challenging, lifelong lessons. We'll always be learning, probably never quite getting it right, but that's okay too.
No, I mean, I think that is so key. I personally haven't been a formal leader very often, like where, ooh, you're the engagement lead, or I've never been a formal manager, maybe an assistant manager. But one of my life lessons is recognizing I can be a big personality, I can be very dramatic, but recognizing that sometimes I don't need to be front and center because I can also be quiet and I can listen. And I think that's whether you're, a formal leader or an informal leader. I find myself more in the informal spot, where I will make decisions to, what, maybe I don't need to have my idea be the forefront all the time. I don't need to be the constant one. This is a great idea, or, putting forth the ideas and leading through your influence or leading through formal leadership. But sometimes I'm going to sit back and learn from you, and I'm going to quietly support you. And that's actually a form of leadership that you do have to choose between being front and center, the middle, or behind. So I really love you having that as something that you're cognizant of, because I think that's a struggle that I have too, is like, when do I be quiet and not try to shine or not try to lead, versus when do I, need to take up this mantle because A, either no one else is doing it, or B, someone needs to, stand up and take that spear approach.
I love that. Well, and I think what you just did successfully is you myth busted this idea that leadership really isn't a title. Like I mentioned earlier, my proudest leadership moment was when I really had no formal role as a leader. I mean, I think that's the myth busted. Leadership really is about owning yourself in those moments and being willing to be helping a group through something. And you can do that as their formal leader, but you can also own who you are in a moment and how you're going to help a group in the way you just described. Like, I'm going to be the person today that's going to be reflective and on how I'm behaving in this meeting, how I'm showing up, and how I'm setting the culture of this meeting in a better place. And that's leadership. That's it. That's title or no title. That's leadership. And I'm so grateful that there are people out there like you that are thinking in those ways. It's not easy, and we probably don't do it all day, every day. But when we do it, it's a good thing.
No, I think it's super interesting. I remember having feedback from a project I was on, and they're like, we wanted you to have an opinion, and we wanted you to, and I was like, honestly, I knew I wasn't the one.
Yeah.
I can ask questions, I can be reflective. But in that moment, I'm going to step back and let someone who is experienced lead, because I don't have what it takes in this moment to be a leader, but I will be a teammate. You tell me what you need, I got you. I'll give you some questions, I got you. But I just wasn't in a place due to knowledge, more so due to knowledge than versus comfort, to be able to just step up and lead.
Yes.
And that actually can be seen as either a weakness or it can be seen as a fallacy. But for me personally, I maybe have slightly less ego than some people. I have an ego 100%, but it may potentially be slightly less. And so I'm comfortable if I don't know something and somebody else does seem to be able to have it, I will pass the mic to you, take the mic, run, take it and run. I will support you. And I think that is a very quiet form of leadership that not everyone recognizes.
Yes, and I love that, especially in moments where there's lots of people grabbing for the mic. It's like, I don't need to be the fifth person doing that. Like, I'm absolutely fine. And I do think it's too bad that we don't give people the opportunity to name their role in that moment. And as a leader, I think you do have to create that space for your team sometimes, as far as, I observe this behavior. Can you tell me more? Oh, okay. Were you playing the role of listener, and why? And I need you to play this role next time. And really having that conversation, but understanding, like you said, that as human beings that are complicated and have lots of dimensions, we may show up in different ways in different places, and that's okay. And I think that's awesome that you can name it and reflect on it and then try to explain it.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember where this moment came from, and it happened a lot when I was younger. Is there's moments where you feel like, oh yeah, I need to lead or I need to step up and I need to be this person and be the one, and that might come from ego. That might come from nobody else is doing it and we're not organized. So ish needs to get done. So I'm going to step up. But I think there was some point for me in my personal professional journey where I realized you do have five people talking up, right? How I started asking myself, how important is my opinion in this moment? Is it how crucial does my opinion need to be said? I may have an opinion, but is it important in this moment? Will it actually move us forward or continue the spin if I speak up? And so sometimes I've really learned to sit back and say, you know what? There's a lot of what they call chefs in the kitchen.
Mhm.
We don't need another one. Maybe we just need a taster. Maybe we just need a shopper, right? And just kind of take my ego away and like, I'm not really needed in this moment in that capacity. That was hard for me to learn, actually. And that's why I say maybe I've learned to have a little less ego in my journey to be able to step back for the good of the team.
Well, you're leaving me with a really good lesson, because I think that's the kryptonite of a formal leader, is that we just assume we should always be at the mic. And I'm probably more guilty of that than most. And so it's a good reminder that, again, making sure that you're reflecting on what's happening around you and where you actually needed and what's needed in that moment. Or not needed. Thank you very much, Annie. Keep on moving.
I mean, we love having you in the forefront, Annie, because you always come with the good stuff. So
I don't know.
I'm never mad if you want to step up. But I recognize that sometimes it's just my ego. I just want to be heard. All the things that needs to be said. Well,
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, JD. I'm flawed in that way as well. So we can both challenge each other to
absolutely
have
well, I
that
know
humility. Yes.
So, and I don't want to keep you for too much longer, but I was kind of wondering, one thing that I could be really helpful for inspiring leaders, future leaders, people who are leading right now, is now that you've reached the vaunted title of a leader / mentor, how do you continue to manage your own growth trajectory?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think probably because I have for decades now had that personal and professional mission statement, and I am very clear in my mind of what I want to be doing when I retire. That's been a North Star now for me for a very long time. And so honestly, it's always been agnostic of title. These are the things I want to be doing when I am done working, like where I want to be leaving off. And so the journey to get there, whether it's involved moving into leadership or not, has just always been about growth. And that's what's helped me continue to grow. Am I doing the things that help me move to the next and the next? Am I having the experiences? I love, and maybe this is a good place for us to leave, there's a great quote from Molly Leibovitz, who you probably know. Very wise soul. I remember early on when I met Molly and was struggling to know how to do this thing that they were calling consulting. And she just said, it's about getting your reps. Get your reps. Just get as many experiences doing the things. And I think as a leader, that is also true. That's how you keep growing. Just get your reps. Raise your hand, do the thing, have the hard conversation. All of those things are what help. And so I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but that's how I keep myself growing, is I'm in constant pursuit of the reps. I just want to keep getting the reps. I love everything about every experience, good or bad. It's teaching me something. It's giving me another point of information to fall back on. Just want the reps. And that's why I'm so grateful for where our paths intersected. That was a place in life where we got a lot of reps. And I continue to pursue that even as I moved on to other things.
No, I love that. I think something that's become clear to me is my own personal mission. And what does that mean? And how do you keep moving forward towards that? So I think that's such a key thing I want to call out is what is your personal mission for
Yeah.
anybody in any stage? And I think that can change. I think that's the cool thing about it. Your mission doesn't have to be the same thing throughout your entire life. But at whatever stage you're in, knowing what your mission is so
Yeah.
key. And then you can figure out what are the things that you're missing or you want more of to be able to get you to that mission. So for me, this is why I do this podcast, is I want to change the world. I know this always feels so ego driven when I say this.
No, I love it. I love it. You go do that. Make it better for us, please.
I want to change the world from this idea of a zero-sum game, at least the world of work. Let's narrow it down because that's what consulting taught us. Let's narrow things down.
Good
I want to
scope.
change the
Yeah,
world of
okay.
work, change the paradigm of the zero-sum game to a win-win relationship. Maybe it's even a win-win-win. I want people to win, the employees, I want the companies to win, and I want the leaders to win. So I want this to be mutually beneficial all around. And I think I saw this clip from Simon Sinek today about at the heart of everything is people. And if you change the needle on the people, every business is made up of people. It's run by people. It's for their target market, which is people. And it's done by employees who are people. And so if we can move the needle on people's experiences in the world of work, that's how I want to change the world. So getting clear on what your mission is and then figuring out the things you need to do to be able to move the needle towards that. So I love how you articulated that.
I love that you have this. I'm glad this is the note we're ending on because it is a game changer to have a North Star, isn't it? Even if it's big and bold and very audacious, which yours checks all those boxes. I think it is absolutely what gets you through the day. And then it's also okay to give permission to your job right now to say, my job today does not need to fulfill everything in that mission statement. And if it's not, I need to supplement that with things outside of work. Maybe I need to do a podcast. Maybe I need to volunteer somewhere. But I think that's the other thing is, boy, we sure have really ridiculously high expectations of our work should fulfill us in these profound ways. And I'm like, it should to a point, but you're going to have to supplement.
Absolutely.
Have your big dream, but you're probably going to have to supplement it.
100%. I love that. Have the big dream. Just make small movements towards your hairy, audacious, giant goal.
Yep.
But I think just knowing what your mission and your dream is big in helping you figure out what are the things you need to do in your everyday life, at work, not at work, to be able to keep pushing the needle on fulfilling your mission. And that mission doesn't mean, I feel like missions don't necessarily mean there's just one end, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
There's multiple things to that. So thank you, Annie. I love it. Like you always have this great, amazing way of articulating how you frame the world and how you move through it. So I appreciate you taking a little more than an hour to share that with me and with my audience to be. I just want to leave one last thing and give you room. Are there any last thoughts or words in your heart that you want to share with the audience before we call it a wrap?
No, just I think thanks for the conversation. I mean, I think that's why I said yes, because a conversation is honestly a gift to get to spend time to just talk about things in a semi-structured way on a specific topic. So thanks for creating the space, JD. I really appreciate it. It was just lovely catching up.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Annie, once again for all of your insights and your wonderful way of framing things. I can't wait till this is live. And thank you for your time in the conversation. It's been a blessing to get a chance to catch up with you in this way.
My audience, hope you enjoyed today's session of Fixing Your Crown Boo. You will be able to see us upcoming soon.